So I thought I'd take a little time and talk about one of the big tools we're using to help monitor forage growth here on the ranch. What we did was we have approximately 26 different pastures, and I went through and built a map for each pasture that shows the soil types in the pasture. And I go do that through the web soil survey online. You can go there and build your pasture, and you can put different layers on the map. One shows the soil type, how many acres are in it, and then it tells how many different types of forage should be on there, and it'll give you a lot of good information. And then I went and identified the soil type that has the prominent number of acres or most represents that pasture, and we set up one of these exclusion rings here in each pasture on that prominent soil type. You don't want to be too close to the water, you don't want to be too far from the water. You really want to do it in an area that really represents the pasture well. We can get on these areas where we'll be right in the line where it'll be grama and buffalo grass, and then we'll go to a different soil type and it'll be alkali saccatone. And you can literally almost see the line, and it's really cool to look on your map and say, hey, you know exactly where you are because it's telling you on the types of forage that are growing. Using this grazing exclusion ring allows me to get a very, very accurate feel on how much grass we grew or how much we could have grown if we didn't graze it, and then how much we grazed. So the really important number I'm looking at is the total pounds of forage per acre, and then what percentage residue and what percentage utilization. Residue would be what I'd left behind after we've grazed and the grass is all done growing for the year. I chose something that's pretty simple to construct and pretty inexpensive and easy to move. I basically just came up with this 16-foot bowl panel. I just wrap it in a circle and wire it together, and this allows me to have enough space to drive in my stake and clip the forage. When I come out to the field to the ring, this shows each soil type, how many acres are in that, and then this also tells a favorable, normal, and unfavorable pounds of forage per acre. At the end of the year, I typically do it in October or November. Once the dormant season comes, I'll come in and I have a setup that I use to clip all the forage inside that ring for a certain circumference of the circle and do a calculation. I weigh the grass on a gram scale, and that tells me how many pounds of forage were grown per acre on that soil type in that pasture. Then I'll take and come out of that ring and go to an area usually pretty close to it, and I'll do that same process again and measure that forage on the gram scale, and then I can put that in on the spreadsheet and do a calculation that shows how much forage we grazed. By going back and looking at kind of the trend on some of these pastures, one of the biggest things I've seen is being able to get in the different pastures grazing with the livestock, using them as a tool to harvest this forage to increase the pounds of forage or decrease. Some people may not agree, but I think it's important to move that exclusion ring to a new area that was grazed. Because if I left this ring in the same spot every year, that grass is not gonna have the same pressure on it that's the area that's grazed. By going back and looking at kind of the trend on some of these pastures, one of the biggest things I've seen is being able to get in the different pastures grazing with the livestock, using them as a tool to harvest this forage to increase the pounds of forage or decrease. We're using the livestock, the cattle in this case, as a tool to help move this rangeland back to climax vegetation. That's what our goal is. That's what the intent is. And by using this information, I can tell which direction we're heading. It's really, really important to to have an area like this, a reference point, and to measure this forage, I think it's really important. I think everybody can do it. And it can even be simpler than this.